Hello, and welcome back to the Cytokine podcast. Cytokine, where we weave healing fates for our people. And really, this podcast is about lived experience. I want to know what it's like to be you, and I want to know what it's like to live out the mechanics through human design lens, through various other bits and pieces, through your lived experience. Now, I've got a really amazing person that I'm talking to today, Julia Hanke. Welcome to the show. Now, Julia is a 4/6 emotional projector with a triple split, I'll add. She's mountains environment. What was your motivation again?
Guilt.
Guilt motivation. Okay, so we
and low sound. So no intense screaming today, please.
Keep the giggles to like. Yeah. Now you work in a really interesting area. You work in the alchemy of business, which doesn't necessarily go together, right? In people's minds, it's like, well, business is very strategic, very strict, and yet you bring the channel of whimsy, which in human design, it's the 4130. It's the channel that's kind of nicknamed the Disney Channel because there's a sense of fantasy within it, the experience. I call it the Whimsy Channel. We call it the Whimsy Channel, and it brings a whole different aspect to your life and what you do. And I want to know what it's like living in your world and how you've maybe had to go on a journey to get to this point. But yeah, welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for this introduction. I love it. I also loved your intro on Instagram about, we're going to have the most whimsical guest. And as I just said before we hit record, I keep forgetting. I'm like, oh yeah, this is me. I'm the whimsical one. And I think this is already part of being whimsical, that like, it's so in your nature, in my nature, that a lot of times I'm not really aware of it. And I'm like, yeah, but that's how people do it, right? Like that's how you look at things. And then I share it and it's like, okay, maybe not. So just a quick intro of what I'm doing for everyone who's listening and doesn't know me. And you mentioned already, I'm working at, I love that, the alchemy of business. That is so good. I think I'm going to take that on as a new form of introduction, because the way I like to describe it is I'm working at the intersection of business and energetics. I have a business background, and I want to say I have much more than a business background, energetic, whimsical background. And so I work with business owners who who have the strategies in place, the business is working, and at the same time, things aren't really flowing the way they should. And when we're in business, or, when you're self-employed and something doesn't work in business, you try to look at it through the business lens, through the strategic lens. And I bring that in, but from my own experience, it's 5% strategy. And the rest is energetics, it's subconscious work, it's pleasure, it's, whatever lights someone up, whimsical, joy, whatever it is. And so we go in through the business door, but then the work I do with my clients is very intimate, very personal, and it always has an effect on their business. So that's the way we come back to it.
I love that. I want to know, because that's not necessarily what people think of in the business realm, especially for business owners, people in high places. They're crunching numbers. They're looking at, all these different things. And then you ask them to feel something. Has that been an interesting evolution for you personally, getting to that state of working in that way? Because coming from a business background, how did you even get into connecting the two, like connecting the energetics and discovering that and really feeling like that's actually that's the leverage, the biggest leverage that you have? What was that like for you? Because I'm so interested in this this intersection, like you say, it's kind of like the meeting of the polarity. You've got the masculine structure, and then you've got the feminine actual driving force for it, and working in that interaction there and reorganizing it. Like, what did that take to get you there? How did you end up there?
I think life brought me there, and for a long time, I'm a 4/6. My first 30 years, I feel like I kind of lived like, like an experiment, and I had all these puzzle pieces. And for a long time, probably up until I was 30, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with all these things because they all seemed like random. So, I grew up with a single mom who was always self-employed. And so so that's like the first puzzle piece. I already experienced from very early on how it is to be self-employed. And I got a feeling for that. Then I studied business administration at university, and I hated it.
That's the most unwhimsical thing you could study. That's hilarious.
I know. I actually wanted to study philosophy and English, but not for becoming a teacher, just because I loved philosophy and English. And then everyone was like, you have to be a teacher. And I'm like, but I don't want that. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do something that's gonna, make me money, which I'm going to say it was not a very light move, but in the grand scheme of things, it gave me an important puzzle piece because now I have a very solid business background. That is important for my work because, you're working with business owners, like also on great scale, and you have no basic or even in-depth understanding. Sometimes that can be a little tricky. So I did that, and then I was like, I hate this. I'm never gonna, do business. And then I did like various things afterwards. I worked for a newspaper and stuff like that. And I grew up in a restaurant, so I had that. I think that's my fourth line, like the hospitality and really wanting to create really extraordinary experiences for people, which is also part of, my containers. And then I had a little early midlife crisis, and I felt like, oh my God, this is just all not enough. It felt really shallow. And I went the typical route. I started becoming a yoga teacher. I had a little yoga studio. And then I still worked at the restaurant of my mom. And I realized I can't deal with the people in a way. Like, I was leading a small team, and I just realized I can't really, like, there were certain dynamics that I couldn't help them with. And that's when I started to be interested in coaching. And then I did my first coaching experience. Certification was like a cognitive coaching. So very, very structured, very mental. And it's a great basis. But after that, I'm like, now you want me to follow this 15-step process. And then I thought, that's not it either. So I went further. I did another coaching education, and that felt a little bit better. And I started experimenting with people also in the restaurant with like customers with my team in the restaurant. And then I realized, okay, these like coaching techniques are all really good, but then there's people where you just can't, like, they won't understand it, or they're so deep in their emotion that logic cannot reach them. And that was actually when I brought in the energetic part, where I'm like, there has to be another part. The mental cognitive part is super important because it's the basis. But some people, you need to reach through a different angle.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so that's when I brought in the energetics, and I studied different energetic modalities, and then I brought in human design because I wanted to understand why people are like this and others are like that, and why one modality works with this person and it doesn't work with that person. And then at the end I had like 20 different things that I studied, and at some point I was like, wow, now I have like the puzzle pieces are all together, and now I can just do the things that people need, and it's different depending on the person, depending on the human design, depending on also their their conditioning. That
I
was a
love
long
this.
answer.
No, that's perfect. I was thinking as you're talking, you have the 8-1 channel, which is an individual channel from the G center, which is your identity,
Yeah.
to your throat. Like the way that you're speaking and what you're bringing forth is this unique kind of mutative thing that you've brought into the world. And it's really interesting
Yeah.
having that there as you're speaking and listening through to that. But I feel like what you're saying there with the systems, this is such a projector thing. And I love this so much because I feel like I was talking to another projector about sacral mastery. Like a sacral person is there to master the thing that lights them up, right? And they tend to become really good in, say, the cognitive, this framework, this system, and I'm
Yeah.
good in it. But then for you as a projector to be able to get these systems and then actually apply them one-on-one individually to a person, that's, I feel like, what the stragglers need. The people who kind of fall through the cracks and the things don't work for them, to be sitting with somebody like you so that you can see them and then be able to apply what's actually necessary for them specifically, which might not be the system they thought it was. A lot of people probably come to you for business and making more money, and then all of a sudden you're reorganizing their internal relationship with themselves and everybody else, and it's like you get a completely different thing which changes your business, but you don't just stay there or focus there necessarily. And I love that. That's like really living into that projector side of things. I'm curious, when you started looking into the human design stuff and you learned about your design being a projector, were you living as a projector at that time? Did that change a lot of things for you understanding it? Was it a process to kind of come back home to yourself as a projector in the way that you lived and kind of respected your own mechanics? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So I learned about human design 7 years ago. An astrologer actually said to me, I think you should really look into human design. And I had such a resistance about it. Like I first saw the graph and I'm like, what the fuck is that? But then I was like, but he was like, no, you should really, like, I think it would be really interesting for you. And then, okay, I'm going to sit down. And then I fell into this rabbit hole, obviously. I was very much not living like a projector. I was, as you can imagine, growing up with a self-employed mom who runs, a restaurant with 20 employees. I was very, very much conditioned to just do and do and do. And when I learned about being a projector, honestly, and this is why human design will forever hold a sweet, dear spot in my heart, because when I found out that I'm a projector, I finally felt the peace that, oh my God, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, I'm not missing anything, because up until then, and this was just before I turned 30, so there was the, what's the shift, the big astro transit that comes around.
Saturn returns?
Yeah, Saturn returns. So there was a lot of reorganization, and that feeling that, I'm not doing enough and I'm not getting it and I'm not living up to the standards. And there was a lot of pressure. And when I found out, oh my God, I'm not here to do it like that. That felt like a rebirth. Like that alone was like, oh my God. But then I can say it took me quite a while to actually figure out what it really means to be a projector, because now I'm at my 7th year, and I feel like now I'm kind of getting cozy in my design.
Yeah, I know. I can see it in tell us a little bit about how you live your day. Because I want to actually, no, could you tell us a little bit about what your days used to look like when you were kind of pushing against life, and then what they look like now? Because I really want people to have a concept of how drastically sometimes the shift can,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
out of alignment you feel to create that shift over time. So please fill us in.
Yeah. So back then my days, so I worked at least 10 to 12 hours. I got up super early. I had this, normally I got up when it was still dark outside, like 5:30. Then, I forced a yoga practice because I have to do. And then I worked a lot. And I fell into bed in the evenings, like really tired and exhausted. And I just kept dragging myself around, like through the days. That was also still the time when I was working a lot in the restaurant with lots of people every day. And I remember basically on the weekends, or on my free days, I would just rest and sleep and feel guilty because I didn't do much, because I was so drained and I was constantly tired. I was depressed also, so that was like a real thing, which I can say I haven't, since I changed a lot of things. There's been no more depression, but that was also a symptom, I think, for me.
Yeah.
And obviously then you find out you're a projector and you shouldn't work as much, and then you're like, yeah, okay, let me just do 3 hours. But that's like when you're working like 12-hour days, which was kind of my standard, you don't just go like from 12 to 3 or 4 hours. And so that's what I want to say is, now I'm 7 years into this, and now I'm actually at this point where I kind of work 3 to 4 hours each day. I relocated to Portugal, and this is how my days look like now. The first rule that I set myself when I moved here is there's no more alarm clocks. This was one thing that for me always felt like very unfree, that I can't, that kind of someone else decides when you are well rested, right? Because that's what it is. If you're trusting that my body is allowed to rest as long as it needs. So for me now, there's no more alarm. I wake up with the sun shining on my face through the window. And I generally have created the life that, like, the mornings are for me. I normally don't do calls before lunchtime. So, I walk the dogs, I lay in bed, I just do whatever. Like, it's just being, and that's so strange because there was a lot of deconditioning for me, and I did this in steps, obviously. Like, I did, as I said, over 7 years. I feel like I did that in steps, and I lowered it slowly more and more. And there was a lot of guilt about doing so little.
Yeah.
And now I'm living my life, and in between, I have maximum 2 client sessions a day, more like just 1. And then, the rest of the day, I just create a bit of content, answer my messages. But it feels like I'm living, and not here is my work and then is my free time. It's all like a beautiful blend now.
I would imagine the work that you're doing feels very different to the work that you're doing beforehand.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, imagining when we talk about projectors and exhaustion and the projector capacity for seeing, we're really here to be able to see and perceive deeply. I'm interested in how you access that now compared to when you were exhausted, like your capacity to see and really receive a person. And yeah.
That is such a great question. And this is also something that, now I work at I don't like the term high level, but I work at, how would you say it? I work, with, is there any better explanation? You have any idea how to say this? I'll just leave it like this. Yeah, with the clients.
Yeah,
also with
you're in with a lot of high functioning business people. It's
yeah. And it's very intense. And so for my capacity to have 2 client calls on one day, that is like, then the capacity is full.
Yeah.
And
that you're able to actually offer somebody at that point.
yeah.
Changes.
And I had a time when, my business grew really fast. I had more like I thought, oh, this is going to be nice. I have more clients and there's more money coming in. But then I realized, okay, my capacity is actually like, it's not to access and to see someone on such a clear and deep level. I need a lot of space. I need to go in the afternoon to the river and lay naked in the sun. If I don't do it, like, it's my business strategy. No, seriously, because it does something to my system, to my energy that, sitting at the desk 8 hours a day, I could not do. And the quality of insights and guidance I give to my clients, of course, it's, it's very different than it used to be when I started coaching on the side and I was still working 12 hours a day. Like, that's just how it is. And I think that goes really against our conditioning of, more hours and more work and is more productive and is better.
Yeah.
It's not true for everyone.
Totally. And I think this is something at some point I hope that every projector gets the capacity to understand, is that you're the product. I think in this world we see our effort as the product.
Yeah.
But it's not the case. And so if you are respecting yourself as the product, that's where your hard work is actually going, rather than thinking that my hard work is the product. So I'm just going to force myself to do the thing. It's like, well, what if you were the product? How would you care for that? How would you treat that product? Because somebody's, accessing you in those sessions. Well, are they accessing the McDonald's version of you? Or are they accessing, the Shangri-La version of you, or, whatever it is?
I love that. Yeah, that's it. And also, excuse me to interrupt, but that I think so important. And this is something that, I've also like a concept, a conditioning I've dropped over time is, am I more valuable if I sit with a client for 60 minutes? Or could me sending a 3-minute voice message be actually the one thing that they need to have, the breakthrough and release something? We're putting the concept of time over everything.
Yeah.
And especially for us projectors, I think it's very dangerous to measure it in time. And I used to do that too. I mean, still sometimes I do. But when you start calculating, how much time, how much do I charge and how much does this break down per hour? No, it's not about that. It's about the value of being in my field.
Yeah.
Of being in my field, not of being there for 1 hour or for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's never about the time. I think that's super important for us projectors, especially.
Totally. And I want to say this is You know, human design speaks to the emotional projector as being one of the most challenging experiences to have as a human. Because but I think something that's really interesting to speak to is the relationship to time that the solar plexus has. You know, it's encouraged that you wait as long as you need for your emotional process to digest the
Yeah.
thing so that you can make a decision. This is really key for an emotionally defined person. That emotional wave is your defining factor of how to make decisions, right? And it functions in its own time frame. So when we're trying to live ourselves into these boxes of 7-day weeks, Monday to Friday, 8 hours, whatever it is, it's literally the most unnatural state for a defined solar plexus to be in, let alone a projector who's accessed for their awareness. So I feel like I love that you keep putting this. You've said a couple of times, like, over time, I have shifted into this state, because it does take time. But also the way that you've done that, you've completely related to time differently now. Your capacity to be present in one key moment versus having to take a whole week to get to that point, it's a complete reorganization of how you are present in your own life. And it's fascinating.
And it's also one of the most difficult things. I feel emotionally defined person knows this urge, this pressure to act, to do, to get things going. And I still fall in the trap. Like, I know when there's this pressure, it's subtle, but if it's there, I know it's like I'm in my conditioning. Because when the wave goes through, then I can, I have no pressure to act. I feel peaceful to act. So I really feel the whole concept of time and what it is and what it's actually not. Yeah, we could talk about this for hours. It's so important. And we tend to be so impatient.
Oh,
We
I
want it
know.
now.
Oh, I totally. And it's like, to get out of sensation, right? If I can do the thing, it will remove the sensation from my body. Which
Yeah.
actually brings me to speak to. So I haven't got your chart up here, but I'm going to describe it. So you have the root center defined connected to the solar plexus. And then you have the G center defined connected to the throat. And then you have the Ajna connected to the head with the same channel as
Yeah.
mine, the 6421. I forget the numbers. I'm not a detailed person.
I think 6124, but
Yeah, that one.
something like that. The middle one.
Yeah.
Is it the middle one? Yeah.
Yes, it is. So there's a
The
bit of
individual
individual
one.
and then a collective channel. But that leaves your ego, your sacral, and your spleen undefined. And I want to talk to you about your undefined spleen, because you and I both share this experience of an undefined
Mm-hmm.
spleen and then a defined solar plexus. So you have these
Mm-hmm.
emotional waves going through, and then you have no consistent access to sort of certainty and survival and that security that the spleen provides, the instincts. Talk to me about your undefined spleen and your journey.
This is so funny. I'm just on a side note. I talked to 2 clients today who both have a completely undefined spleen as well. And
So
I'm like,
no gate.
no gates, just like the 2 of us. And I'm like, there's so many undefined spleens hanging around here. Like, what's going on? Okay, I have a lot to say about this. You know that. I want to say 2 things. The undefined spleen for me is, or has been, or was, my worst nightmare and my biggest blessing. So 2 sides of the same coin.
This sounds dramatic. That's all heck.
You know it. I mean, you've been with me through this. It's been. I feel I feel the undefined spleen, the completely open spleen. Like, there's so much wisdom in that, and this is what I refer to as my empty room, is when I'm in these states, and I'm also not there yet, and probably never gonna be there 100%, where I can just constantly stay in this beautiful energy. But I feel the gift of the undefined spleen is this understanding of the, how do I say this? When everything falls away, when there's no securities, when there's no safety, and you really don't know what you're going to do in your life. And it's like, I got divorced. I had like a health scare. I don't know what else. I a lot of things, all the pillars in my life started to break away. And at first it felt like this is the worst nightmare, because what are you going to hold on to? There's no more stability. It feels like there's no one who's going to give you safety. And it can really feel like dying.
Yeah.
And so this was, there was a period in my life last year where I felt like all these things were breaking down. And then I stayed with it. And what initially felt like my worst nightmare turned into this empty room where I realized, and we can only realize that when the nervous system is relaxed, like otherwise you're not gonna get it. But I realized, if there's nothing there, it also means there's endless possibilities. And if my room is empty of all the things that weren't really aligned anyway, but they just gave me a fake kind of safety of filling the room with stuff you don't really like, with people who are not super aligned. When that is gone and there's nothing, you realize nothing and everything is the same.
Oh man.
And that opens a frequency field of, oh my God, everything is available to me. Like literally infinite amount of possibilities. Like, who am I to know what's going to happen? Who am I to know what the best experiences are for me? Who am I to know what I really want? We think we know what we want. And that's what, we get so focused on manifestation and drawing in these things that we think we want. But if we move into this empty room and we connect to source, we understand everything is there. And if we go full into the surrender, it's like, okay, I'm going to let go of what I think I need. And you show me what I really want. Because from a conditioned space, I'm never gonna dream big enough.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna order French fries because that's what's been on the menu for my whole life.
Yeah.
When there's everything else available.
Oh my gosh. I love this so much. I've had goosebumps 3 times. But I feel like this is the wisdom of the undefined spleen.
Yeah.
Right? Because and there's the light and the dark, the wisdom and the, like, what did you say? The most nightmare.
The worst nightmare.
Yeah.
The worst.
And
It's both. It has the potential to be both.
100%. And I'm sure you can bring up all of the things that you've held on to for their safety that have harmed you. And this is the not self theme, or the downside to an undefined spleen. When you're living from incongruency, you have the tendency to hold on to things that aren't good for you, especially aren't healthy for you, for way too long, just because you're scared to let them go. And so this whole concept of, I feel like you could almost summarize it into surrender, right? Because We hold on to things because we think we can control life by holding on to them. I think my life
Yeah.
would be safer if I do this action. Meanwhile, both you and I feel like I've learned this very, very deeply in the last couple of months, is that you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. You
We
literally have
don't,
no
we
idea.
have no idea.
Right? And the undefined spleen is there to be like, guys, nobody knows. Yes,
Yeah.
when people have their instincts, they have access to that in the moment. That's wonderful. But also, you don't know what that instinct is going to lead to. You don't know what the outcome of the decision is going to be. Like, none of us have any idea what's going on. And when we can let go of that, it's like, I've loved your concept of the empty room, this liminal space of potential, really. So I feel like that's the healing state of an undefined spleen, where you can sit in that presence of not knowing and not
Yeah.
die.
And it actually turns into something deeply beautiful. And I went there a lot into this state of the empty room. And I found a lot of comfort and peace and safety, because when you really feel into that frequency, you feel that. I'm saying you feel it because not you understand, because the mind has its own thing, but you feel that in the body, you're actually held in all of what is possible. The moment you allow yourself to be held, yeah, the moment you stop resisting, stop fighting, stop micromanaging what's never been yours to micromanage, like let the force take over.
Oh, I love that. And it's almost like when we're holding on to that one thing, we're bottlenecking the universe to say our safety has to come through this one thing. And
It has to be exactly like that, and if it's
yeah,
not like that, I don't want it.
exactly. Then I'll just die. Melodramatically. Which kind of brings me to I'm curious about energetic resources and management, money stuff with you. I'm curious about what success feels like to you. Ra talks about, the human design guy, he speaks about, for a projector, success being when not being an energy type, so not having the sacral center defined, is not a problem. You're able to live as yourself, and that's sustainable. So I'm curious about your maybe evolution, your journey with money, with resources, with what it feels like to feel successful in your life. And I want to maybe even break that down to look at, are there places where we think it has to look this way, but what success actually is for us is maybe something completely different. Yeah, can you speak to that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I love the question. Yeah, it's a big one, and you're just gonna have to stop me or redirect
No,
me.
keep going. Every word is a gem. So good.
Yeah, so my personal evolution of success has been very, yeah, I think very interesting. I, like most of the people in this world, I used to chase the outside success, and I actually, how do you say, I got the man with, I had the man with the big company, the sports cars, the posh life, because inside I felt like this is really going to give me the safety that I didn't really have when growing up, even though my mom always provided well for me. But we have these concepts of, when I have this, I'm going to feel safe. So for me, success was tied to safety a lot. No wonder with the undefined spleen. And so for me, it was really important to have this, this man who will provide, and all the money's there. And then I had that, and I was so unhappy. And it was so important for me, because from the outside, I had reached the goal, and I felt like shit inside. And that's when I realized, okay, maybe the success is not coming from the outside. It's an internal feeling. And it has, in the first place, little to do with money itself. I feel success is a state, an internal state that money follows, like as a byproduct. But success doesn't equal money.
Interesting. So if you're chasing this number on a screen, essentially, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
You could be missing so much of your own experience in that process. I know I've done that.
I think we've all done it. And it's also okay. I think it's part of the process. And we still fall back as well. Sometimes we still feel like, yeah, if I just have, I remember one of our talks, I was like, if I just had that amount of money in my bank account, I would feel safe.
Yeah.
That was like last week when we talked about that. What?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so interesting because the moment you have that money in the bank account, it doesn't change anything. Like,
Yeah. I know you're waking up tomorrow to yourself again. What?
yeah. You're still in the shitty job or in the relationship that's unaligned. It's not magically solved, but we think that. So for me, my success metrics are now really things like no alarm clock. I am the master of my day. I get to decide what to do. For me, that was really important to be self-employed, that, I can spend my time and energy the way I desire. And yeah, I think for me, success, and I think this is an important one. And I'm sure you've heard it, but we're still trying to figure out the ways to get the success.
What do you mean by that?
So that there is an underlying belief that it is outside of us and that we have to do something. And here comes in a lot of my work with, I just have to find the right strategy, blah, blah, blah. We have to do something to get it. This is also my interpretation of Ra, it's already like it's a natural thing for us. And it's more the allowing of doing less and trying less and trying to get it less, because the moment we try to get it, and we talk about this a lot in your work, you start to change, you start to be inauthentic, you start to manipulate or change your energy a little bit because you think, this will get me that.
Totally.
And this is how we go about money and success. We actually we think the way we are is not enough.
Yeah.
And so we go looking, we're trying to improve ourselves, to improve our strategies, to find all that, when the reality is, the work I see is, if you allow yourself to be even more you, for me, like the whimsical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I always had the belief I'm not professional enough. And I shouldn't be. Like, I'm not here to be professional. I'm here to be whimsical. And when I allow myself to be that, the success feels easy. It feels natural because it's already in me.
Yeah.
And I think that's much more of a deconditioning than a learning. It's much more of a letting go of things we think we need and unlearning.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. And I think that's maybe the most important thing for a projector to really hear, is to discover who and what you are, so that you can be that. Because like you, if you were still stuck in trying to be a shitty version of a sacral, working 10 hours a day and wondering what's wrong with me,
Yeah.
You don't even have a chance to know what it feels like to be you. And I think
No.
that's in terms of chasing success and being a sustainable projector, you're so right. It's about letting go of who you thought you had to be. In the work that I do with the integrated somatic inquiry, you're asking this question of who do I become when I believe inherently I'm unsuccessful?
Yeah.
And if you spent your whole life being a pretend sacral, you're going to feel unsuccessful.
Yeah.
But if you stop all of those things, all of the trying, like you say, success is just the natural state
Yeah.
of every projector, every single projector, even the funky ones.
Yeah. And then it's like, it's exciting, it's fun, it's easy, it's flowing. You're not trying. And the thing is, you don't get there with the head.
Yeah.
You can't
Why
access
not?
this.
That's
Why
the
not?
joke.
But how does it work? Well, yeah. And I feel money, money is it's such a beautiful energy. I love to talk about money more in an energetic way than in a um like it's bills and coins and this and that.
Yeah, tell
It
me so
actually
much
it actually so on an energetic field, and I've been doing a lot of mm, deep work with myself with the energy of money. It's very similar when you feel into it in its essence. It's very similar to the energy of love, actually,
more. Oh, I like that.
because it is in its core, it's unconditional. And this is where we always have a problem with in love and with money.
Oh, talk more about that. That feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like to feeling, we are saying I want more money and I want, I'm open to receive, I'm leaning back, and then someone comes along and invites us or gifts us something, and there's no, like, you didn't do anything, there's no exchange, and all of a sudden it starts to get so uncomfortable because, hey, this is unconditional, and we have not learned that unconditional is okay. We have learned that everything is transactional.
Yeah, totally. I have to be worthy to receive whatever I'm getting.
Yeah.
I have
And
to,
I have to give something, or
yeah.
have to do something,
What do I have
or
to
at least I
lose?
have to look beautiful or something. There's something I have to in order to get it. And it's the same with money and with deep love, because the frequency of money is really one that wants to take care of you. And we say we want that, but the truth is, and I can say that for myself because I'm still, like, experimenting with it on my own, or by like, I'm taking myself through this experiment, and I realize how deeply uncomfortable it sometimes is when the money comes, or love comes, the connection comes, and then immediately you catch yourself wanting to give something back. And there it's gone, your unconditional connection.
Yeah.
Which is what we say we want. But I think it's really a deep unlearning to allow to receive that.
It feels
We're still pretty bad receivers.
yeah, it feels very similar to that undefined spleen where we're holding on to this small way for safety to come. And it's like with money, well, it has to come through this, like these three avenues.
Yeah.
That's okay if it comes through that. if it can't, whoa, no, that's scary. If it's coming through this, or if, what, if it's
Yeah.
outside of the thing that feels familiar, then, well, that's crazy. So we have this bottleneck where we're really kind of squeezing what we can receive from life.
Yeah, I just thought, I just a funny thought. Like, I think the only way we're like conditioned to receive money without anything is through the lotto.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, let's play lotto, and then I gain €1 million, and but that's isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting. Yeah. It has to be accidental.
Yeah, like, whoops, I tripped over it. Okay, now I'm
Otherwise,
allowed to take it.
yeah. Or it has to come through hard work. This is the interesting thing of like, who do you become when you're trying to get money, right?
Yeah.
What do you believe you have to do? How do you believe you have to do it to be worth X amount, And I think that's where people can have a lot of success and money and still be really uncomfortable in their lives because of who they've become to get it.
Yeah. And this is also part of my work, where I do see, people who are very successful on the outside, and you think, oh my God, like they've got it figured out. But what's really happening, this is a funny thing. When you start your business, you're like, oh, if I finally make some money, like the biggest fear is that you're like, you're gonna be broke, it's not gonna work. But then you think like, oh, when I finally make money, this fear is gone. And then you get to the next level, like you figured it out, you're finally making money. Let's say you're making money even consistently. And then the next fear is, will it continue, or will I mess it up and lose it all again? And you'd believe when you're on the starting level that this is the worst fear, because you could lose everything. But when you're high up and you're making a couple of million revenue each year, and you have a team and people to pay, and you haven't figured out your money shit, can you imagine that amount of stress? Because losing that, disappointing all these people, and the gaps get bigger. When you start and you have a little cash flow problem, maybe it's, let's say, I don't know, 5,000 euros you're missing. But when you're at a bigger scale, all of a sudden the little gap is like 100K.
Mm.
So it really makes sense to look at these things early on.
Totally. And I wonder if that's also what people end up avoiding by not having a lot of cash flows. Like, well, my nervous system can only handle this amount of intensity. And I'm calling it intensity, not stress, because it's simply moving energy, right?
Yeah.
Know what to do with this amount of money. Great. Okay. You know how to kind of work with that, but you can't work with any more energy than that. So
Yeah.
the intensity or stress of money is so much that you are keeping yourself small to avoid the intensity that's actually moving through your own body.
Yeah.
So,
100%. It's a capacity thing. Like,
mm.
it's like you're you're having like a little shot glass, and you want to pour in a liter of water. It's not gonna work. You wonder why there's such a mess everywhere. And that's when people are like, but I tried all the strategies. I did everything. I have the funnel. I have this. I have that. Well, yeah, you have that. That's like the liter jug you're trying to pour into the little thing, but you need to up level the capacity, the intensity you can hold in the body. Because I remember when I had, my first, I did a birthday sale, and then I had like my first 5-figure day, like where I had 5 figures in revenue in one day. And I remember I couldn't sleep that night. Like my body, it was like a great excitement, but it was also so intense in the body. I was really surprised. I'm like, if 1 million just came in, like my body would never be able to just process that. I'd just drop dead. Yeah. So it makes sense. Our system is protecting us because it is, and I love the word you said, intensity. It's more intense on the system, and if you're not used to navigating this, it's gonna be really uncomfortable, or you're gonna make sure you drop it again so you don't have to feel the intensity.
Yeah. Oh man, I was thinking as you're speaking, you work mostly with women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a really interesting when you think about the energetic state, the nervous system capacity, and then the female biology and how sensitive it is. It makes sense why women are facing expansion like this and finding difficulties because we're usually using masculine structure, all the stuff you studied at uni. It's
Yeah.
all very strategic. It's like, well, there's no loopholes there. That stuff works. But when you're the one carrying it, when you're the body it's funneling through, you're dealing with a monthly cycle of each week you're a different person. You're dealing with like a biology that is inherently looking for safety, so avoiding threats. You're dealing with all of these energetic shifts and states and sensitivities, and without the capacity to actually navigate and hold power, I'm going to call money power because I think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Without the capacity to really actually face these things and survive them, you can kind of see why a lot of women find this place really difficult and scary as well.
Yeah.
Money stuff. It's like, I don't want to stereotype, but I think a lot of women really do struggle with that capacity.
100%. A lot of women are underpaid. The gender gap, all these things, they're not, I mean, it's a truth right now. It's a reality that we're seeing. And then, even more interesting it is to see that our bodies are built to receive.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You know that. I mean, this is your work. Our bodies are built to receive, but it also has to be the right energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Totally. Here you go.
I have so many ideas in my head.
Come on. I'll just rip on it.
I think two things. There's been a lot of experiences where we received energy that didn't feel good, that didn't feel aligned.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, sexually, but also money wise or in connection, because all of it is energy. So there are a lot of times I feel there is an inherent fear of receiving, because in the body, in the system, in the subconscious, there is still, collected evidence of, a threat or uncomfortableness. That's one thing. The other thing, and here we go back to the open spleen and the empty room. I think a lot of us cannot really receive because we don't have the space, because we keep eating or snacking on stuff that is here, but it's not really aligned, but I'm going to have it because it's here and it's better than not having anything. And that goes back to the trusting that what is really aligned for me in love, in work, and, in money wise, in power, in life force, is going to find its way to me. But sometimes we get very impatient. Here comes the time again. and then we just, we stuff ourselves with some shitty energy. And then we don't have space to receive what is aligned anymore because the room is already crowded.
Yeah. Because we're too afraid to have an emptiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so.
I love this. By the way, I feel like, and this is for everyone who knows more about the human design, this is two passive brains. And then I will jump off this call and I will forget what I said. And I will have to refer back to this call, to actually write down these ideas, because for me, I cannot get this when I'm just sitting by myself. I get these ideas in conversation, and I love that so much. So this is new.
This goes, but it's been stashed inside of you. I love it. And it's so bloody potent. I feel like every woman needs to listen to this podcast interview.
Yeah. And I feel like, we're touching everything, but not in a shallow way, because I feel like, wow, we're just, closing the circle in a way where it all comes together. And that's the passive brain. All these concepts we know, but the way they sometimes come together, when we're in conversation, it's just, you couldn't even map this out.
No.
In a way like that.
I know. It's a really sometimes uncomfortable combination of this passive brain, which that's how you're receiving input, right? So you're receiving the world in this passive, I'm receiving everything, we're absorbing everything. But
like a sponge.
Have this strategic mind. So we've got a lot to say, but if we're not actually hit with the right stimulus to kind of know what's ready to come out, it's like, well, you can get, I have this term, cognitive obesity, where it's like, I think this is really true for most projectors. If you don't put yourself in a position where you're able to be drawn from, you can be collecting stuff all of the time and have this backlog of things. And if you don't give yourself a chance to be drawn from, we talked about this in one of our sessions, do you actually want more money, or do you want the depth of connection where somebody's really resourcing themselves from you, from richness within you? Is that actually what you're craving? Is that what the success flavor is like? And I feel like for a lot of projectors, this aspect of being drawn from all the stuff we put into ourselves all the time, whether you're passive or not with the brain, I think it's this flow that needs to continue. It's the same with the money flow. Are you part of an ecosystem, or are you hoarding like a swamp and kind of decaying because you're removing yourself from this circular flow? And that's of part of the conversation, being involved in life, being involved in the circulation of energy and money and love and all of these different things. And it's interesting. I loved what you said about how when you've had uncomfortable, negative experiences of being involved in the flow, especially as a woman, you can make it so that it's not possible to receive anything. Because if there's a 50-50 chance of the receiving being uncomfortable again, you don't want to go there. And so you cut yourself off from all of life. I've been talking to my girls in my membership about this, of can you actually stay? Because when you start to feel more, it's like the energetic capacity with money. When you start to receive more, you have to deal with how uncomfortable that's going to feel. So with pleasure and with arousal and all the stuff that I talk about with my girls, money as well, to actually be able to feel and receive more, you have to feel shitty first. And that's what it takes you to get to all of the experience it took to get you into that open room, the empty room. It probably wasn't real fun to begin with.
No, it took a divorce and a couple of health concerns to really push me there. And then then I was in the empty room, and I was just feeling like a Zen master there. And I would be like, oh, you can't get into the empty room when, people didn't have the ability to access it when I try to lead them there. And then, of course, so this was purely, like, not purely, but there was a bit of ego involved of, oh, look, I can go there, but why can't you go there? And then life gave me, of course, some experiences, and it kicked me out of this empty room. And I just, for the life of it, I couldn't get back in. I just couldn't access it. It took me quite a couple of months to come back to it. And so that is also then a valid experience. We say we want to experience all of it, but the truth is we only want to experience the comfortable side. But it's always a spectrum. And if we want, to widen our capacity at receiving the beauty and the pleasure and the joy, it also widens you on the other side, on the negative. I don't want to call it negative side, on the uncomfortable side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like this is such a teaching from the solar plexus, especially the channel of whimsy, because it's like if you can't go to tragedy, you're eventually going to be so numb that you can't go to anywhere, right? We've done some work around this.
Yeah.
But it's true. I see
it's
this
true.
with my clients where they might be emotionally defined, but they don't really live emotionally because they're avoiding one part of their wave. And sometimes it's actually the up wave because they know it's not going to last, so they don't trust it. So they don't want to allow it to fill them. Or, in maybe both of our cases, it's this avoiding the low wave because it just feels like dying. I don't want to die particularly. I want to keep on the high. And, I've used substances like coffee and whatnot for the sacral buzz, but also to feel happier in my life so that I don't go into the deep lows, So it's like, but what are you losing when you avoid sensation? Because really it is sensation. What you're feeling is energetic, like tingles in your body of some form.
Yeah.
You have ways of interpreting them, and this is actually something interesting because the body can have a skewed perception of what, like for you getting that big income day and it being good, but your body is still experiencing it as almost too much energy. So it's like we can have perceptive lenses of how our body is actually relating to the sensations. And that's what we can sort of start shifting so that we can actually experience a lot more of life. But I feel like this is really speaking to your, emotional wave and the embodied lived wisdom there, because you've had a lot of living.
I feel like the last 5 months feel like 3 years.
Yeah. There's time for you.
Yeah, there's the time concept again. It completely doesn't fit into my life anymore.
Totally.
Yeah, and I'm still, and I think that's also important to say, because sometimes when we listen to someone talk about these things, it's like, oh yeah, they've got it figured out. But I can tell you, at least for me, I'm still sitting there and, like, from time to time, really resisting it and really, like, also fighting the emotional wave or even forgetting it. I'm like, oh yeah, right, there was something. And I think it's a process, and it's always going to be a process. It's going to be more and more refined. But it's always going to feel intense. I'm still going through things that feel like I'm dying. And I went through things that felt like I was dying 5 years ago. And then, you kind of expect that it's going to just be easier, but you're gonna be on a new level. And on that new level, the things feel pretty much the same intensity again.
Yeah.
And we forget that. We expect it all to be just like flowers and ice cream.
We're gonna arrive somewhere sometime, right? Right? No, we're alive. We're moving. Yeah.
And also I feel like, you kind of like you how do you say, you conclude a level like in a computer game.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is nice, this is cozy, I'm rocking life, like this is so, yeah, I'm doing it, like look at me. And then boom, you're next level, and it feels like, oh my god, I'm a freaking beginner again, like who am I even? But what we're forgetting is that we've been climbing up. And when I look back at, my fears and my worries 5 years ago, or my life, how it looked like, oh my God. Like, I'm living in Portugal, sleeping in, working 3 to 4 hours a day. Honestly, this is already paradise.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, I love that so much. Yeah. I think the expectation is something that just is so human, but so unuseful. Right.
Yeah.
How can we know what it's going to look like? But if you're actually present enough, and this is where I think the cultivating the presence with sensation is so useful, because you can be in the present moment enough to recognize what feels right for you and what feels like yourself and what feels like you. It feels authentic to you because you actually have the presence to be with yourself. And that really comes into all of the energetic.
Yeah. And that really is the basis, because if we're not being present, we're going to miss the whole point.
Yeah.
There is only the now.
Yeah. Always. Hey. How many interesting nows are there? There's so many interesting nows.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I have a last curiosity that I want to maybe just see if you have anything to say about your fourth line and the evolution of connection. That sounds like such a well put together question, but I find it really interesting. I've got quite a few fourth lines in my sphere, and I found, some of the stuff that we've done together around being able to be honest and authentic in your connections, and then how that actually shifts things as a fourth line, or shifts your capacity and resources as a fourth line. I'm really curious about that, because for so many people, all of us, it's really hard to be honest. It's really hard to know what to be honest about. It's really hard to even know when you're kind of pretzeling, but as a fourth line, that's such a key area of your life, how you connect, how you feel connected, how people feel you, because that's kind of like where all of your resources lie in a lot of ways, in your connectivity work. So I'd love you to say some words about that if you haven't.
I feel this is so interesting. I still feel my fourth line and me, we're still getting to know each other. I mean, we've had a couple of first dates. No, it's so funny, because I always felt, and I still feel it a bit, that I don't feel like a fourth line. Like, I have like, sometimes I drop into this, yeah, but I don't really know that many people, or I don't really have that many connections. But maybe this is also a passive brain thing, actually. Because this would be interesting. Yeah, because I'm not so aware of it. I have a friend who's like a great networker, and she has like all these, she goes to all these networking events and has all these people and all these contacts in her phone and on Instagram. And for me, this is always how a fourth line should look like. She's not a fourth line, but I am. But I think it's not so much about having here we go again, collecting a huge network. That's like, again, let me see on the outside how I can secure my fourth line network. It's not about that. What I realize more and more, the the more capacity I have to show up authentically, which means whimsy, different, a little bit mysterious.
Iconic, mysterious woman.
Yes. The more these connections just appear. And for me, it's always like, wow, how did that happen? Also, like a lot of my clients, they kind of come out of nowhere, but then there's like, oh yeah, this acquaintance of yours forwarded me this reel of you, and I'm like, that is strange, but this is, or I go to the hairdresser and I talk to someone there, and then whoops, I have a new client. But I'm most of the time, and I think this is the interesting part, I'm not aware of it before. It's not like I feel like, ooh, I have this huge network that I can count on. It's more, again, an internal thing of the more aligned I allow myself to be, the more I allow myself to speak my truth, the more my true energy is radiated out, and the easier it is for these people to connect to me. So what I'm doing, and I think this is important, I'm not focusing on creating these connections. Not anymore, at least.
It's almost like you're creating the connection with yourself, and then they're stemming from that.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
And I love that, because also I didn't know that. I just realized that by talking. Because I'm like, damn it, your question, I don't know how to answer it. But it came through. I trusted.
No, that's perfect. And I wonder if a lot of fourth lines can probably see themselves in that, because there is almost a pressure to have a network, right? As a fourth line.
Yeah.
Well,
because it's like, oh, you're so good at network marketing and this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. You're your own flavor. And, I think I've been thinking about what you said about the fourth line and just fourth lines in general, but I don't know that it's quantity either.
no.
I really believe it's quality over quantity. And so one of the girls in my membership, she's been playing with online dating and apps and things. And she was thinking, maybe that's not actually really that useful or enjoyable as a fourth line, trying to go out there in the wild, And I said, even if it's just one good connection that you feel 100% yourself, start nurturing those.
Yeah.
See what happens and be more yourself in those, and just see what happens, because I have such faith in that energetic frequency. If you can be you, your people will be able to find you.
Exactly. This is the order. You are you, and then they find you.
Yeah. We try to do it the other way around, right? Because
let's find the people, and then I'll be me.
Yeah, totally. But we're so funny, because even with the defined solar plexus, it's so tempting to avoid truth and confrontation, right? I know I know this is my lesson as well, but like when you're able to be authentic, it just solves 90% of your problems. The amount of energy and effort we put into figuring stuff, and I'm saying this, I'm preaching to my own choir here, but like the amount of mental energy invested into, I've just done this with location for myself, but really trying to figure it out with our mind, and then just finding our own truth and authenticity and being like, oh, okay, well, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Damn, but also it's relief when you can just be you. It's like you don't have anything else to carry.
And this is also the true flavor of success. This is where it all comes together. And, especially when we don't need to be self-employed, but, it will change the business dynamic. Yeah. Because when you are you, your energy and your business is not just your energy, but your energy feeds into your business energy,
Totally.
it's gonna change things.
Yeah.
That strategy can never do.
And aren't we about working smarter, not harder, us projectors? Why would you waste your time?
Exactly.
Which maybe we should look at wrapping up. But I want to speak to your sixth line for a hot minute because you're currently on the roof, which means you're hard to access, which means you're kind of like a little bit withdrawn. I mean, you're in Portugal in the mountains, so you're actually physically in your environment, looking out over the rest of us and going, I don't know if I want to climb off my roof for that. That's not a good enough invitation. So if people wanted to work with you, how do they find you? What's the best way to discover and throw rocks onto your roof, maybe?
I love that. The best way is to connect with me on Instagram. And that is Julia in Love with Life. And yeah, and just connect with me, send me a message. I'm really a people person, a one-to-one person. I love the deep talks much more than any, shallow small talk. So just send me a message and let's chat.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time and your presence and your awareness and just all the wisdom that came spilling out of you.
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful invitation and pulling it out of me. I feel tired now, but the good kind of tired. Like, oh, I gave it all.
You did. This is like the most potent presence. And I know that it's going to really touch a lot of projectors, a lot of people in general. And I'm really grateful for that, because I think for us to understand what it takes to live this stuff out is really important for our own kind of have. And you are an embodied unconscious role model. You were living this stuff out. It's so potent to have that to witness as fellow projectors, as women in business, as people, alchemizing our lives. So thank you. Stay on the line. For the rest of you, subscribe, share this with your bestie. Come say hi to both of us. We're really friendly, lovely people. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.